That's dhann. You are so convinced. You are so convinced. You're so set in your assumptions. So set in your assumptions. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "Ijtanibu kathiran min adh-dhann." It's not even about other ethnicities, even inside our homes. Even inside our homes. The wife says something to you, and you assume she means something bad. The husband says something to the wife, and she assumes he's trying to make fun of her. Dinner's really good today, the husband says. "Oh, you hate it again, huh?" "I know what you really mean." No, I meant it's good." "No, I know what you really mean. I know you." That's dhann. That's dhann. You're not telepathic. You don't know what the other person means. Learn to give benefit of the doubt. Dhann can become so bad in some people that two people are walking by each other. One of them says, "Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh." The other says, "Wa alaikum assalam." I know what he meant by assalamu alaikum. He wanted to see if I'd say wa alaikum assalam because he wants to feel like he's better than me. You know? Why do you say it like that? "What do you mean? He just said salam." "Yeah, but he said it he looked at me a certain way. I know what he was doing." There's some of you sitting in the audience. I'm not looking at you. I'm really not. I'm looking over you. But some of you sitting, why is he looking at me like that? Why is he? Did somebody tell him about me? You know? I've given a khutbah before on a similar topic. It was about speaking nicely. Speaking nicely. وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. That was the entire khutbah was وَقُولُوا, because we need it. We need it. We don't need the entire ayah, we just need that much. Let's start with that, because we're pretty bad at that. So I gave that khutbah, and part of that was not making assumptions. Just be nice to people when you speak to them. Brother comes up to me afterwards and says, "Who paid you to give this khutbah? Did he tell you about me?" My goodness. This is dhann. You cannot assume that somebody means good for you. You cannot assume that somebody's proposing something to you or giving you some advice, not to one-up you or to crush your pride or to humiliate you, but they actually mean well for you. You see, if dhann takes over, then we are no longer able to give each other good advice anymore. I can't come to you as a brother and say, "Look, I'm concerned about this one thing." Because you're gonna have too much of an assumption against me. You won't be able to take my advice. You're gonna think I have some other agenda. You're not gonna be able to take it. And then this dhann isn't just in our interactions within our family or within a community. This happens between us and the du'at and the ulama of Islam that are speaking. And somebody says, "Man, don't listen to that guy. That one time he said one thing, and that means he must be evil. He's got an agenda." Look, our ulama are not prophets. Our du'at are not prophets. Everyone after the Rasul of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, will make a mistake in something they say. They're human beings, لِكُلِّ جَوَّادٍ كَبْوَ وَلِكُلِّ عَالِمٍ هَفْوَ, right? So there's always going to be something that a scholar says that it wasn't perfect. Or you don't agree with it. Even though you're not a scholar, but you decide you don't agree with this one thing he said. It doesn't take away from all of the good that they did, or they continue to do. You cannot reduce people to one thing that they say. You can't. Imagine if people did that to you and me. Imagine if somebody remembered one thing I said 5 years ago, and therefore nobody should ever listen to me. Because you said it to your friend, and you said something, and we say things. We're human beings. But to take one thing and to make the assumption about the character of a person and completely character assassinate them. And then on top of that, there are people who don't even listen to Islamic lectures and read books and durus. They don't sit in them because they want to benefit. They sit in them waiting for something they can find to attack. Right, he said that? Oh, he said that? Oh. They came with one. They came and sat in this thing that they're supposed to get closer to Allah with, but the only intention was, look, I'm going to take this part out, I'm going to make a video out of that, and I'm going to write a refutation about this, and I'm going to do this. Oh my God. What is wrong with you? Why don't you have anything better to do? Why so much dhann? Why seeking out what somebody else said wrong? We are so busy finding the mistakes in each other, we have no time left to share something good with each other. Is the entire ummah already familiar with the book of Allah that we have time to talk about what you said wrong and what I said wrong or what somebody else said wrong? We don't have time for this. We're not worth the energy. We're not worth the effort. The word of Allah needs to be spread, and we're too busy just confirming our dhunun. That's what we're busy with. This is what Allah says, اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. But that's not the entirety of my khutbah. This is the last part of it. إن بعد الظن إثم. He says, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's ironic that Allah put that. On the first hand, assumptions are things that you originally had doubt and you left it and you became convinced in it. But He says, let me tell you something that in which there is no doubt. After assumption, here's one thing that will definitely come. Ithm will come. And ithm in the Arabic language is roughly translated as sin. But the Quran uses junah for sin, sayyi'ah for sin, haraj for sin. It uses many words for sin. Dhanb is used for sin. There's so many words that are used for sin. What does ithm specifically mean? It has a few meanings. Did you know old Arab poets, when they talked about gambling, sometimes they use the word ithm instead of al-qimar, which is gambling? They use the word interchangeably. In other words, you're gambling when you make assumptions. You're gambling. You could be right, but you could be wrong. And if there's one thing that's clearly evil in our religion, is gambling. The poet also uses the word ithm, meaning sin, interchangeably with alcohol, with khimar, with wine. يعني شربنا الإثم. الشاعر يقول شربنا الإثم بدلا من شربنا الخمر. Instead of saying we drank wine, he says we drank ithm. In other words, making assumptions about people can get so far that you are drunk and you don't think clearly anymore. And you've just gone, it's like a drunk person looks crazy and they talk crazy. People whose paranoia goes that far, they just start sounding like they're drunk, like they're addicted. That's what they start sounding like. Inna ba'da dhanni ithm. Al-ithm bima'na jaza' kadhalik. Athamahu Allah, they say. Yani jazahu Allah. When ithm also means compensation. In other words, it's not just any sin. It is a sin, you will be seeing the price of it. You will pay the price of it and others will see the consequences of it. It's not just some sin that the angels wrote down and you never saw what happened, only on Judgment Day you will see. No, you will see the evils of it in this dunya too. You will see the evils of making assumptions in this dunya. The brotherhood will be destroyed. Families will be ripped apart because of people just assuming what the other meant. You know? Nations, entire nations will be willing to go to war because of assumption. How many political scandals happen because of assumption? There's a rumor spread that this politician did this. There's no evidence yet, but riots have already started in the streets. People have already started to die. Businesses have already started to be ruined. And it doesn't matter which country. But the fact that based on a rumor, based on a dhann, some people died. How serious is this thing? It's not just something that ruins your personal life or a community's life. It can ruin entire countries. It can ruin entire nations. Can you imagine, for example, the wars that we went to based on assumption? Based on the assumption, we sold the assumption that there are weapons of mass destruction, didn't we? Now it's known. It's known now, it's not a hidden thing. How many millions of lives have to be paid for because people bite into assumption? اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. This isn't just advice to Muslims, it's advice to all of humanity. Which is why in the next ayah, Allah Azza wa Jalla does not say, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. People, we made you nations and tribes. We made you into different kinds of ethnicities, different languages, different cultures. لِتَعَارَفُوا, so you can get to know one another, not because you make fun of each other, not so you make assumptions about each other. That wasn't the point to make you different ethnicities. You forgot, you didn't realize why I made you like this. Why are we different? You didn't get the point. But that addresses to all of humanity. But before he addressed all of humanity, he said, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu ijtanibu kathira min adh-dhann. Why did he say that? What are some of the hikam in that? And I conclude with this. You know, before addressing all of humanity, he addressed the believers because the Muslims were supposed to be the example of how you don't stereotype, how you don't make fun of other people, how you don't make assumptions, how you have clean communication, how you can give benefit of the doubt, how you don't pass judgment until you have absolute clarity. Until you have clarity, you reserve your judgment. You don't say anything. I don't know enough to say. That you should stop there. When somebody asks you an opinion, what do you think about this imam? What do you think about this person? What do you think about that? Well, I don't know enough to say, but I think he's pretty bad. Well, no. I don't know enough to say, full stop. It's done. I got nothing else to say. I'm going to assume it's a good person. I'm almost sure he's a good, if anything, جِدْ لِأَخِيكَ عُذْرًا. Find excuses for your brother. If you don't know enough, just say, look, I've only heard things which obviously إِذَا قِيلَ وَقَالَ when you hear something and you spread it forward, this is against the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. So when you say, you know what I heard, and you continue your sentence, you just violated something the Prophet said, ﷺ. When you start thinking, you know what I've heard? Nah, never mind. I didn't hear anything, it was somebody else. Change the subject. Don't finish that. That's part of spreading dhann. And then the herd goes so far that people just start making all kinds of assumptions. And then start making decisions based on those assumptions. SubhanAllah. We have to become people that see clarity, you know? Until something is absolutely clear. Absolutely clear. We don't take a step forward. We never take a step forward. This is in family life, this is in work life, this is in community life, this is even in terms of the news. Sometimes we hear things in the news that are outrageous and we assume that it's true. An entire machine built on the idea of, selling fear, how can we trust it? There has to be more thorough investigative journalism before we make assumptions about entire people or events. We have to develop a skepticism when إِنْ جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. When a corrupt source comes to you with news, then clarify it. When a corrupt source comes to you with news, then don't just listen to it. فَتَبَيَّنُوا فَتَثَبَّتُوا فِي قِرَاءَ أُخْرَى. Until you're absolutely firm about what it actually is, do not pass judgment. Do not make assumptions. May Allah Azza wa Jalla help us live according to these principles that can make our lives, the lives of our families, and the life of our community and the ummah so much better than it is today. May Allah Azza wa Jalla help us become those who don't look for flaws in what other people are saying, but rather develop a sincerity towards others, a love towards others. And may Allah Azza wa Jalla use the message of this deen not to spread differences among us, but to unite us as a people and bring our hearts closer together. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim.